Is a quorum? Do we have a quorum? Yes. Okay. Rules and bylaws update. Is Brown? In talking about the Rules and Bylaws Committee, we had discussed in a couple of monthly meetings. We had two things on the Bylaws Committee that we was going to address, and that we had addressed, and that we was going to make changes to. Any other information we just need to, for us, any changes on the bylaw, we need to be discussed and determine what those changes should be. Because we have already talked too much on two particular things, and that's you have those you have the information on that.
I'm not exactly sure the two particular things you're referring to, but I do have an issue I wanted to bring about the bylaws to the board for discussion. Could you clarify which two things were?
I think one of the things was talking about the dates of when these people come in. I think October.
Yeah, the nominating committee.
Yes,
That was my issue. Article 7, Section 4, that's on page 7 of this draft that's in the left-hand side of each packet, does discuss nominating committee, and it currently reads, the nominating committee will recommend board members for the officer roles. The nominating committee shall be appointed by the chair of the board and shall deliberate annually. The nominating committee will consider, along with other relevant candidate criteria, the following factors as applicable to potential nominees. A, the interest in serving on the executive committee. B, attendance. C, participation in the mission of the board. And D, responsiveness to the staff of the board. And Member Brown brought up an important issue that we need a time frame for a report from the committee, and that we have at times needed to have elections before we get that report from the committee. And I defer to those that have been here and seen that play out as to what that time frame should be, and maybe we could discuss it and I could plug it in a way where it reads clearly.
Okay, I know we did discuss basically that we noticed that the frame when new people can come and enter in the board is in October. And if people was inquiring to run for office, should submit in writing October, November, and try to do an election towards the end of December. You know, because we want to, if new people were sent here on the board, we'd like for them to already be present at least a month or two before an election process have taken place, so they'll be familiar with some operation of the board. Brown, you got to come in.
Yeah, a couple of times we've not had any recommendations from the nominating committee to the election, and so my suggestion would be that we, since we have new members coming in October, that we have the board report by the executive committee meeting in November.
Okay, was there anything else about any changes that we? It was one other thing that should have been that we were supposed to have been correcting on the bylaw. Though basically it was just two things.
Yeah, I'm not sure the second issue. I want to make sure that it's clear that the appendix that follows Exhibit A will be appended to the final version, and that's a Word document of about 20-something odd pages that covers the relevant Unicode and TCA provisions. And that'll be our final. I can, clean up the comments and approve our changes and circulate a clean copy to everyone for the vote that would hopefully happen. But Jill, are you aware of the other issue that's still outstanding involving these? I'm not sure what that is.
Nominations? Oh,
Separate from the nomination,
It should have been 2 items on the bylaw that was interested in changing.
I knew it was that one, and then, of course, oh yeah, it was the date. It was the date.
Okay.
Which was scheduled for June, changed to October.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the second one.
So those are the 2 changes that we had already talked about.
I think that instead of June 22 each calendar year, we said deliberate annually and deliberate annually. The way I think about it, this suggestion of Board Member Brown that we could have a board report by the next month's November Executive Committee meeting, kind of, it would be necessary to say in October, a report's compiled that's presented the following month at Executive Committee.
Right, because everyone rolls off October 31st. I guess we would have, if the mayor's going to appoint people, I would assume that those people would be appointed the 1st of October, at that first council meeting, maybe, I would hope, so that they would be prepared for November's meeting. Because, there's people, I'm just trying to, in a perfect world, you would have people coming in as the other people are rolling off. So October 31st, and there's this overlap. So you have new members who come in the middle of October or the 1st of October. Then they would show up if they wanted to for the October 30, whatever the last day in October is. But if not, for certain they would be in November's meeting. We would have already had an executive committee meeting. But at that moment, I think if the positions are filled, and then let me just say this as a side note. I know in the past, every time we had changes, there was this 60-day holding period. I don't know, did we include that in here, Frank?
It should have already been in there.
I think we left it from a past, or it may be a provision that, because we spoke about last time, you talked about that being the practice chair.
Yes.
And I don't know, I'll have to check on that because
because that 60 days helps us not, so that we can have a quorum, right? So that, even though you may, if the mayor doesn't appoint the people, then we still need to be able to function.
Basically, what it was for, if the mayor didn't appoint the people in October, then the people that were rolling off has the right to provide 60 days of service, until someone has been placed for that position. And that was the purpose of it, And so we would be able to have the quorum and be able to operate officially according to the bylaws.
So this 60-day saving provision to keep a quorum.
And we can just pull that language if you want. It's in the old.
In April 2024?
Well, I don't know. I know it's in the old COB language. I don't know if it's in this one. I can't remember if it's in this April.
It may be in the ordinance.
Maybe.
If
I don't
it's in the
remember.
ordinance, we don't need it.
I don't remember seeing it though, but we have to go back and check.
Board Member Sexton, you got one?
Yeah, what happens is, or what potentially happens is, the mayor makes no appointment.
Right.
Then it falls to the vice mayor to name an individual. I know I got caught in that snare when I was on the WEGO board. So we need to have some conditional language that allows us to still function should such a failure occur from the mayor's office. There's also, my recollection is that there's also a time for the vice mayor should that occur, the vice mayor has a finite time within which to appoint. If there's a failure on both counts, our board would remain person by the incumbents.
Board Member Heather,
No, you go right ahead. You go right ahead. Yeah.
Here.
Thank you. I was just wanting to ask, because there's been a lot of talk about the appointments and the dates coming up. Just so I understand, do we have members rolling off and are we expecting new appointments? I thought we were a full board at this point, but I don't know if there are terms that are expiring.
Their terms are expiring.
And who
But
are
they
those
might be-
members?
They may be reappointed. I think one is Mr. Holloway.
Okay.
As well as Ms. Haddock.
Okay. And so their terms are expiring, but they may be eligible for another term, you're saying? Or they are eligible?
I'm not really sure about that.
Doesn't the statute say the term eligibility?
When we created the new board, we had members for 1, 2, and 3 years. And they're eligible for reappointment, all of them,
No term limit.
the 2. They can serve 2 terms.
2 terms, okay.
Right, because everyone would have been under, although they may have served longer under the COB, but that's abolished, so now they are eligible under the CRB.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
we would make sure we clarify that, but from my understanding, if you reapply and you get selected by whomever, whether the mayor, by the Metro Council, I was my understanding that you could serve, but we can clear that up and make sure we go through that process, so we don't want them be in any violation of anything. We want to make sure that we're correcting everything, and make sure that let the mayor know, send him a letter or something, let him know that we got some positions coming up, opening in October, and if they have any idea of anybody they have in mind, maybe wanting to fill in the position, or somebody want to, select to be on the board, that they could, and mostly once you get appointed for the position, get selected by either then the Metro Council vote on you, and if you get a majority of the votes, then you can serve on the board. So we want to make sure clear that whatever 2 positions coming up, and make sure that they be prepared, and just in case if anybody may not want to run again.
That's true. I think that this new process is different than what we have experienced. You've been on the board with me for some years, and it was a more open and democratic process because the people who were being appointed to the board went through a different selection process. They weren't all appointed by the mayor. So this process is slightly different because all the appointings according to the act are appointments by our mayor or whoever's in the mayor's position. So we can make suggestions, and I think that people should be able to serve on boards, and they should be people that work and live in communities and want to do this work. And so I really don't want to limit people's opportunity. There is a criteria. If they match that, then they should be eligible to be appointed to this board.
Okay, under this new process, the legislature did put in a law and they reduced the board from 11 to 7. And then it was trying to decide who would be that 7B. And once the Metro Council had sponsored someone, then the mayor sponsored someone, the Metro Council ended up voting because I was in that process. I was under the final 7, but still the Metro Council ended up voting whether I should be on it among that 7.
Right, and I think the difference here now is that that process is no longer the same. And so now the council still has to approve, but they don't go through like, oh, we had two people from the mayor's office that made selections, or two appointees from the mayor, two appointees from council, and then others from community organizations. And we don't have that any longer. I think in our proposal, when we were doing this work with council member Porterfield and Jeff Syracuse, I mean, in our restructuring, we mentioned that, to keep that democratic process in place, the mayor, if it is his will, could still choose people who are nominated by community organizations.
Board Member Brown, you have a question?
No, I think that's correct. The mayor has control, and the ordinance does set some criteria and some limitations, two members from a same council district. But the board is certainly free, and I would anticipate we would announce that there is a vacancy, and anyone that's interested in applying should contact the mayor's office. We can certainly advertise it, but doesn't allow for somebody has to be nominated by a community and the council doesn't. It's totally for the mayor, but we can certainly encourage people to apply. But I think we're okay on it. I don't think we have any change on that. And Frank, did you get a chance to see about that 60 days? But if we have a vacancy that a member is off, that would reduce say we lose a member, our quorum would be 4. If we lost 2 members, our quorum would be 3. I mean, that's sort of, I think, by operation of law. If it's not an absence. An absence doesn't change the quorum, but a vacancy does, would reduce the quorum.
Well, to help avoid that, to remind them that we got 2 people will be rolling off, and if they have anybody in mind they want to appoint to apply for the position, please do. But we don't want to wait till the last minute, hoping they are aware, because so much come through that office. This may not be a top priority for them. And so for us to send them a letter just to make sure they are aware this is coming up and something needs to be done.
I think it's absolutely right, but I don't think but it goes in the bylaws.
Right. So to be clear, are we suggesting inclusion of this 60-day provision in the bylaws, or are we covered by the fact that this?
If it's in the ordinance, and I thought it was, we don't need to repeat it in the bylaws just because it's in the ordinance. And I think it's in the ordinance, but I don't have it up.
Well, I'll have it.
Hopefully we can have an answer to that.
In talking with the then vice mayor, he didn't talk about it as an option, he talked about it as amendment. Yes.
Okay. Are there any more responses from the bylaws update? Heather?
Thank you. I do have some questions about, it looks like we're removing under Article 5 the description of the composition of the board and the bylaws, but then under Article 7 we talk about officers and those positions under Article 6. Sorry. So I'm just curious why we're cutting the description of the composition of the board from the bylaws, which seems like some pretty basic information that would make sense to be in there. Is there a reason we're doing that?
Board Member Brown, go ahead.
Yeah, because it's set out in the ordinance, and so we were trying to keep them reasonably short. And the composition of the board, 7 members, and et cetera, that's set by ordinance, and so we're going to attach as an exhibit the ordinance.
Okay, that
So
makes sense.
it appeared it wasn't necessary in the bylaws.
And I guess the officers, Article 6, that stuff isn't in the ordinance, so that's why we left that in there. I'm just trying to understand the reasoning.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense, thank you.
You may see some other recommended changes, but the only thing we're dealing right now was basically the two responses that we had already gone on for the last 2 months. It's not the end. It's not the end.
Entire document?
We are voting on for the two things that we had recommended for 2 months. We've been talking about the changes, the date, and what was the other thing we talked about? About the from to October when the new folks coming in, new members.
We did discuss a provision for timing that we would stipulate in that this report made by the nominating committee would be relayed by the following month's November's executive committee. But the way I understand it, this 60 days provision, we would not need to include.
Okay.
Because it's laid out in the ordinance. We need to confirm that. And if it is laid out in the ordinance, then I don't think we need to include it. I'm saying what?
Sorry, I know it's confusing, there's a lot of back and forth. When I heard Edie Fitchard speak earlier, it was her suggestion to put the 60-day holdover in the bylaws, and then we started having a discussion about not putting it in the bylaws. So I'm just...
And because if it's not in the, I don't believe it's in the act, but it could be. I don't recall seeing that. But I mean, it was something that we had in the other, I mean, that's what we had.
The COB had it,
Yes.
and we want it here.
Correct.
Let's do this. We're not gonna go back and forth on this. We're gonna make sure in our next board meeting make sure the answer is direct. Is it either in there or it's not? But we just understand that it's been agreed that if no one is selected by that timeline, that the present person that wrote them all is eligible to do 60 days until one is replaced. Board Cersei.
We're talking about it being in the ordinance that creates the CRB.
Right.
But I believe there's a global mandate for any appointment that the mayor makes or doesn't make. There's a 60-day period. And I think that whether it's in our creating document or not, or in our creating statute or not, it is applicable to all boards and commissions.
And the way I understand it, that's what you were saying, is that would the existence of that, which would control and is not needed to be stipulated in these. Right.
So in other words, the mayor really have 60-day grace period to make sure that process is completed.
Which
business can conduct.
Which I believe we have.
Okay. Well, and so for me, it's like really critically important because there's some language in this act that says that one of them is that we can't meet, and if we don't have a quorum, and it has some additional, more restrictive language in there than I've seen in other boards and commissions. Because it says like you can't even. Let me see what which one I'm talking about, Frank, where it says that if you don't have a quorum, that you don't even have a meeting.
That's in 38.8.312.
Yeah.
You cannot conduct business.
Right? So, I mean, it's important that we have that 60 days so that if we're short in light of that we have people in place so that we can conduct business.
Right.
Board Member Brown.
We either have 7 members or we've got 60 days. If a member rolled off after the 60 days, then our quorum drops.
Right.
The quorum is the
Okay.
majority of the board members.
Gotcha.
And we could drop to 5.
And still have a quorum with
With
3
three.
people. Okay. Makes sense. Okay.
Further point was Jill has made a number of comments and I've made a number of comments on it and Frank's adopted them. I think with the one addition of adding that date for the report of the nominating committee, I think we're ready to vote on it. We've got it, and he's got to clean up the red lines, but we've circulated it and we've got it. I make a motion we approve and present it to the board at our next, at our board meeting.
I second the motion.
Motion is to accept it and been properly second. All in,
Sorry. This motion is for, this includes the addition of the 60-day holdover, or are we not doing that?
No, we're not.
Okay.
My understanding of this is Article 7's Section 4 nominating committee would be amended to reflect this report date from the nominating committee of the November following those October.
Okay, because the statute says 4 members of the committee shall constitute a quorum. I don't know if that changes if, you're saying it changes if we lose a member, but it says 4 members of the committee constitute a quorum. It doesn't say a majority or anything like that. It says 4 members constitute a quorum. So
I think there may be a definition of quorum that's described as a majority. Members,
In the
which statute?
312, our statute.
Okay, I'll need to look at that.
I'm just now thinking about what you were discussing.
Yeah, I always thought that a majority would meet our quorum requirement, and if that's not the case, then I'm very
You
glad.
say that in there.
No, it says very clearly 4 members of the committee constitute a quorum. So if we only have 5 members, this would still require 4 to constitute a quorum, right?
And that wouldn't,
That'd be weird.
So why
Don't
we
get me
change-
started on that.
Why don't we amend our bylaws to reflect the majority plus 1? Or not the majority plus 1, not in this situation, but
that's something to be looked at. Also, it can be to a point you can suspend the rule and to carry out your business, you know. But better yet than say that.
if you can't meet to suspend the rules, then that's the quandary that you wind up being in.
So
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's a little more restrictive, I think. Isn't that more restrictive than other boards? And yeah, you see what I'm saying?
I just think that detail needs to get worked out before we vote on it, because
If the statute does not mandate such, then we don't need to be self-imposing.
the statute mandates it.
The statute does mandate 4.
4 as a quorum of this body. It doesn't say a majority, it says 4 members make a
Yeah.
quorum, and then it says we cannot meet without a quorum. We can't even meet, so.
we can meet, but
So what-
we cannot conduct business.
But where
Is
does
that right?
Robert's Rules of Order come in with these restrictions that may not adhere to Robert's Rules of Order?
Yeah, I don't know if the statute
If there's a
overrides.
conflict between Robert's rules and our,
Let me say this. Excuse me. Let me say this right here. You don't have the red pal in here today. Please give me some respect, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Now, let's say we're gonna show some respect for our guests over here. You know, we don't. This is not how we operate all the time. You know, we want to show
I
some
think this is a
respect.
lively discussion.
Oh, she does. Okay. But this is something that we need to consider to make a change. But I think to make the change, I prefer you bring it to the full body and let them know this is what we see. This is something we want you to look at as well and make a consideration on it. This is what the executive board had discovered. This is something we need to make a change on. Does that sound good enough for you?
I would like to see if we can get this adopted by the board at this next meeting. The statute says 4 is a quorum, then that governs no matter what we say. So I think we can just either take that part out or just leave. We don't really need to say anything because it's in the statute.
and the statute,
And we're going to attach the statutes.
and, well, the act, and then it can, the first section is that it overrides.
Sometimes mix up what's in the act and what's in the ordinance.
Right.
Okay.
And the ordinance is overridden by the act completely, and so is the charter and any other regulation that conflicts with the
and
act.
so is Robert's rules.
So
All
what-
things, in fact, in section 2A of 388312, it preempts any existing law, ordinance, resolution, enactment, charter provision, or regulation by a local governing body.
But all in
And
all,
that's talking about
all in all,
when it undid.
I just want the board, period, and the entire board to be clear and understand what we're trying to do. We don't want to shove nothing down anybody's throat, saying the chair shoved it down our throat. He didn't give us time to think about it.
Okay, so I think the way I remedy that is send this, whatever draft that Frank has completed, send that out to the board before our next meeting so that they have opportunity to review it and then discuss it at the meeting. Does that make sense? Does that
It make a lot of sense provided they read it, yes.
okay.
At least you made an effort to inform them before the meeting. That's the main thing, you know. We want everybody to be clear of what we have seen at the board and want to make sure that they see that we have already discussed and we'd like them to take a look at it and see what they feel about it. And we all want to be on the same page and going in the same direction.
Right, okay.
Heather.
I think my confusion was with the 60-day holdover, not the quorum. We've established it takes 4 people for a quorum. We're saying the 60-day holdover does not need to be included because it is this universal policy that applies to all boards. So with that being said, if you want to renew your motion, we could take a vote on adopting.
Yes. Well, I didn't withdraw it.
Oh, then we don't need to renew it. Then we can just vote.
And it's been seconded. I call the question.
Question.
All in favor, say aye.
All in favor of that? Anybody opposed? Okay.
Now take the vote on the
All right.
motion.
Everybody in favor for the motion? Anybody opposed? I see 2 head up the hand and 1 did not. What does that mean? Okay, 3. Okay.
It passes.
It passes. Boy, this is one more day. Then,
Passes without the
if there's not any more comments concerning the bylaws, let's move on. On the 4th item is a letter to the mayor, 61-page complaint.
Okay, I'll start and then Frank, you can chime in. When I met with the mayor a couple of weeks ago in regards to our goals and objectives, which I thought was a really pleasant meeting to discuss, he had requested, and we'll talk a little bit more about this, but he had requested goals and objectives for each department. And so I met with him to go over these goals and objectives. You should have a copy of that in your in your file. Well, at that same time, the letter that Chair Holloway created, I gave that to Ms. Kristen Wilson in response, and because the mayor had stepped out of the meeting before I could give him the letter. And so we have not heard back from the mayor regarding this letter. And Frank, if you want to add anything to that. Is the letter in here? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, here it is. You should have this letter here.
In our packet?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Well, yeah, just to reiterate, this was hand-delivered, and we've, this is signed by our chair. We've not received a response. And I don't know, it was also sent to Director Dietz by me personally, and I don't know. We expect to hear something, and it may be appropriate to re-prompt for a response. I defer to you all.
Board Member Heather, you come in.
So we haven't received a response from this. I'm wondering if it makes sense for us to share this with some Metro Council members who maybe could start drawing some attention to this issue and maybe advocate also from the mayor's office to get something on this. Would that be appropriate, or? He's not answering us, so maybe if we shared this concern with our council members, they may also be able to help advocate for some answers.
I certainly don't think it would be inappropriate, but
Board Member
My
Brown.
suggestion before we go that step would be to ask Frank for you to communicate with the law director and ask for some response, and maybe you could, I think you could certainly say that the board's considering making a request to the council.
okay.
We,
Would rather speak about it
Yeah.
ahead of.
before we go there, because we're kind of, and the problem is, until the council, the special counsel does anything, there's really not much we've got any authority to it. Certainly the council members could raise it, but I'd get Mr. Dietz an opportunity to give us something, but before we do go to the council. I'm not opposed to going to the council. I just don't want to jump the gun too quick, because it could cause more trouble than it's worth.
So,
I'd like to add, I'm sorry.
Director Hill, go ahead.
Well, I'm saying this letter was hand delivered on Wednesday, July the 30th. And I just feel like, to me, it's a respect thing that we haven't heard back from anyone within the mayor's structure to even acknowledge that they received this letter. And, that's been a full 2 weeks. And so we discussed it on Monday, that Monday, which was the 28th of July. And before you know it, it'll be a whole month that has passed by. And so I think that this board, I don't know about you all or how you feel, but I feel there's this lack of respect that is happening, that I don't know why it's happening, for the voices of each one of you board members, especially our chair, where there has been, just some, in my opinion, some just, these things that have, we have put before them, this is like what you said, 3 letters now without any responses. And I just don't understand why that's happening. And so I find it to be a real critical error on their part.
Sure, and just for clarification, and remind me if I'm wrong, have we ever heard one response from the mayor's office about this issue?
I thought they responded to you in a letter saying they couldn't share information. So
Well, was that director, has the mayor, I know there's been a comment made, but Director Dietz wrote a letter saying, we're in receipt of yours, we defer to Butler Snow, no comment.
I haven't heard anything from the administration as well. We've heard also from Cindy Gross, of course, when I asked for that, for the documentation, but I have not heard anything from the mayor's administration in any regard to any letters that we have sent regarding that, and other things as well.
Right, and again, no, this does not ask for, and never have we asked for any substantive update, only the fact that this is actually an active case that otherwise we would be entitled, if it weren't against OPA, we would be entitled to routine communications and status about its pendency. So,
yeah, and this is a public safety concern. And there are people who are concerned about this, right? There was a 60-page complaint that had multiple concerns related to officer misconduct and so on and so forth. And even the assistance with the abolishment of the Community Oversight Board. And so I think that this is not something that we can just brush aside and just let it sit. It's been sitting for over a year. This happened. They started this investigation in June of 2024. We're in August of 2025. I think the public deserves some response.
So you're saying the public deserves some response from them, right? Now, the next thing you do, they said not talk to the legal advisor to represent the city. knowing that they probably could give you a little bit more information than what have been given. And I wouldn't say it'd be proper or not, but to alert the people is to do a letter to the newspaper. Let them know, kind of like a summary of what's going on, but not the, and you're requesting further information, but not getting the cooperation from the mayor's office or either the legal department. And we've been sending letters out. We've sent 2 or 3 letters, and we still like at a standstill. So what next? What's the plan? How far is the investigation on this? Do they have made a decision on the case?
Well, I agree with Member Brown's suggestion, and if you all approve and direct me to, would be happy to call Director Dietz. He's been helpful in the past to talk to me about issues, and maybe he could provide some guidance, and if not, then we could go a different route.
Board Member Heather?
Why do we think his answer would change from the first time?
Well, sometimes maybe as to, well, now we're 4 months ahead of where we were last time, right? I mean, this is a 14-month investigation at this point.
But he's going to cite the same statutes and say that he's not privileged to be able to provide any of that information, right?
Well, what
We're not
information? I
allowed.
mean, but he is. Now, I don't know if the reason has ever been we're not allowed to say anything. It's just our policy to, and we're not asking for anything other than, well, I mean, it stipulates exactly what we're asking for. We're not asking to understand what has been uncovered, but something by way of a status update that we would get from OPA for all the other cases we have and are entitled to. I don't know if he will act any differently, but I think it's worth a try on a phone call.
Certainly, and I guess my suggestion would be to do what Member Brown is suggesting and you're agreeing with, give Wally Dietz a call, Director Dietz, but also go ahead and let council members know that we've been waiting for over a year, and why not do an op-ed talking about this issue and drawing public attention to it. These things can happen at the same time?
Simultaneously.
Yes.
Board Member Cersei?
No, I agree with Board Member with Heather's comment, and was about to suggest that that's what we do. We do all three with some pause to see what the response, to give Dietz an opportunity to respond, but subsequent to that we publish an op-ed and simultaneously begin to canvass the council.
Board Member Brown?
I partially agree with you. I think we ought to give Dietz a chance to respond. We have on the agenda every time a status of the complaint. And I think at that point, if we want to push forward, we could have someone could propose, discuss, and vote on a request for an update. The problem is the mayor has appointed an independent counsel, and I think on legal grounds, absent termination of the council, the independent counsel, they don't have to tell anybody anything from a legal standpoint. Now, that's different from a political standpoint.
Precisely.
And that's why I would support, Walter, a motion if we don't hear something from Dietz, and Frank can certainly advise us before we get, then I think it would not be unreasonable for the board to vote to make a formal request of mayor, council, whoever.
I second your motion.
Okay.
Okay, the motion made, it wasn't a motion.
No, it's a motion.
Okay, and the second.
Yes.
Okay.
And what was the motion? Can we repeat it?
To allow a response from Director Dietz, and if we don't have a response by the board meeting, that the board consider making a formal request for further information.
So,
I would leave that to the board. I'd leave the board to vote then exactly what they wanted to do.
so are we clear with the motion?
It seems slightly different now. Okay, so
From my estimation of it, it's first to respond to DC, get a response, and then if not satisfied with it, then move forward.
Yes.
All
Succinctly put.
By the Thursday before the next.
yeah, let's be clear on the date. Okay, Thursday before the board meeting. That date is. Hold on, let me get you the date.
Before the September.
Oh, I
board.
should know that because it's my birthday. Wait a minute.
No.
I'm going to be voting no because
That would be the 20th.
to respond already. He's had an opportunity, so I don't know why we keep kicking the can. If we can do these things simultaneously, assuming he's not going to respond.
My motion was for the this next board meeting.
You talking about in
This
August?
next board meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought
Okay,
you
you're
said
talking about
September.
Thursday.
sorry.
You're talking about the
Okay, that's
21st.
better.
The 21st.
The 21st is the next board meeting, fine.
Yeah, okay.
No, the 25th is the next board meeting.
And the Thursday before.
The
is-
Thursday before is the
It's
21st,
the 21st.
which is next Thursday.
Which is 8 days from
It's the
today.
day before my birthday. I don't know why I didn't know that.
And mine is the 29th, just so that you guys know.
So, motion on-
Plug in.
been properly second. All in favor, say aye. Anybody opposed? So the motion passes.
And just that letter I plan to send out, or that phone call plan to have tomorrow, and I will let our chair know.
Let me ask a question on that. To respond with these, is that supposed to be a phone conversation? Is that supposed to be a meeting in this office? Or do you want them to meet with us?
I suggest that I call him or meet him. I don't know if he needs to meet with anyone else, but I defer to you all.
Well, we'll start out with you making the phone call, and we'll go from there. But I just want to get an understanding of it, so we'll be clear before we leave here today.
All right.
Okay? But one thing for sure, he needs to know that we are sincere about this, and what he say can cause us to go further with it, whether it's to the newspaper or what have you.
To the council, yeah.
Does that sound good to you? Okay, thank you. All right, let's see what we have next thing on the agenda is the Executive Director merit increase update.
/ automobile request.
I missed what you said. Oh, okay.
Do you want me to start on this one? Okay. So I see there's a letter in your package. It's the letter that was sent to the mayor's office related to my salary increase that you all approved unanimously back in June, I believe. Was it June or May? It was in May, actually, I think, or June. But anyway, on June 23rd, we sent a letter to the mayor's office. Today, I heard from them. I heard from Ms. Kristen Wilson. I kind of prepared this statement just on behalf of that. I want to first say I thank this board and this city for allowing me to do this work. I'm profoundly grateful and very thankful. And so this is a little bit more than just about salary. This is about equity. And so I wanted to say, so I'm providing this follow-up on the letter that sent to the mayor that we sent on June 23rd, which requested a 13% merit salary increase based on the board's unanimous vote. This afternoon, I spoke with Ms. Wilson, the mayor's COO. She communicated that the mayor enjoyed our recent meeting, and in light of our goals for fiscal year 26, he had decided to grant a 2% merit increase. This is in addition to the 3.33% salary adjustment that resulted from the, they used a study, salary study was conducted by a group called Mercer. I want to be transparent about my reaction. I thanked Ms. Wilson for the increase, but I also expressed my deep disappointment. I noted that it feels as if though the board's decision was not given the weight it deserved. I also pointed out that other boards and commissions have the authority to grant increases of up to 15% for their directors, which are also funded by Metro on most occasions, and which makes the mayor's decision seem out of line with what standard practices. This marks the second time the mayor has overridden the board's decision regarding my performance-based salary increase. And finally, I raised concerns about the broader implications of the Mercer study. The study kept the CRB ED position in the lowest category to a DPO 1, although they increased to 5 different categories. So it used to be just 2, a DPO 1, which is the lower version, which is what the CRB COB person was placed into, and then they have a DPO 2. So now they've created DPO 1 all the way up to DPO 5s, and the salary, of course, is based on your salary range within the pay scale, and so. I had concerns about that. This is not the first time that I've brought that concern up to someone in the HR department. And so the study kept the CRB ED position in the lowest category, even though there was an opportunity to place it in a higher category that would better align with the current job duties. The structural issues and significant salary variations for leaders across Metro departments suggest a system where bias and disparity can exist. And so those are my concerns. And on top of that, as I had mentioned earlier, there was no salary increase at all for me, merit increase, for the year of 2023. And then in 2024, the board requested that I get a 12% increase, and I was given a 4% merit increase. And this year, I've given even a lower one, which was the board requested a 13%, and the mayor's office gave me a 2%. And so I am very concerned about this. I feel, and like I said, I am a high earner, and I'm very appreciative of that. But this is not about that. It is about, there's no reasoning behind it. I haven't heard any, there's no job performance, issues. Like, why is it that this year is even lower than last year?
Board Member Cersei.
You'll recall that at a prior meeting, we discussed the issue of the DPO categories.
Yes.
And the possibility that the agencies run by women were more likely to be in the lower DPO classifications than those run by men. And that was a supposition, but we were going to look into whether there's some merit in that statement. That's my A selection, and depending upon what your response is, I have a B selection.
You have a what?
I said that's my A selection. I have a B selection, depending upon what you tell us about that investigation. Okay. Thank you. I was looking at the director's pay and how they created, so DPO 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and there is a significant variance in the DPO 2 midpoint is similar to the maximum in DPO 1. And so if this is what Mercer created without any other departments being involved, where we didn't have any input, or I wasn't even aware that they were doing this, and nobody was, this wasn't brought to our attention. And so then they decided to move forward with it. And it shows, if you notice here, in this category for DPO 1, it pretty much stayed the same as it was, for these years that have passed.
And so they gave me a 3.33% increase. And I just want to say that, you know, that's fine in that regard, but it also, I'm almost topped out here, you know, as well. If they would have dropped this down to a DPO2, there would have been more opportunity for merit-based
You mean if
increase.
they had raised it to a DPO2?
I'm sorry, raised it to a DPO2.
Yeah, from what it currently is, which is
A DPO1.
DPO1.
Correct.
But remember, now, let me refocus you on what I asked regarding the gender
Yeah.
of the occupants of these positions. And let me go to the B side, and let's assume that there's some validity in this supposition. If so, then I think the focus for you to proceed regarding this is more soundly based in raising that disparity. We can, you know, we're all big folk here. We can, you know, the slight that we may be getting or the disrespect we may be suffering is of lesser importance, at least to me. You know, what's important is how your position is being treated, and overall, then how this board is looked at in terms of its relative importance to the Metro scheme.
Right. Right. I agree.
And yeah,
According to the records, a comparison study should be done. Other department people with your position, the male position, female position, then you can use more or less race position. What percentage of the blacks are getting what in your position? What's the position of a female black in your position? Or just what a position? It could be a study where females are not getting the advancement as they should, like men's are. You know, you got certain departments see women as less important, they promote them or fund them salary-wise as compared to men, you know, and you got this old stigma in a lot of agencies, this is a man's world. But James Brown said it wouldn't be nothing without a woman.
that great philosopher.
So you got a lot of work cut out for you. And if you get some of your staff members, just do a little research on these different staff members on your same level and see what the pay has been in the last 2 or 3 years, and you have some concrete evidence to say which is fair and which is not fair. This is what I find in the data system.
I appreciate that. I mean, it is work. I don't feel like it's my work to do, but, you know, I understand, you know what I'm saying? Like, but I'll do what I can, but I just, you know, I should not have to fight this hard to get a merit increase. I'm talking about merit increase. Yeah. We're talking about based on my performance increase. And so I would be like, what is other department heads receiving for merit increases?
What did Fred Douglass say? If not you, then who?
So,
if not now, then when?
Then when, right. So I understand. But it always goes back to the woman, especially the black woman that has to do these lifts. And I mean, there comes a point where it should just be equity and it should be fair. And I shouldn't have to do this work. But it seems like I have to do it. Go ahead, Couture, sorry.
I just wanted to add and discuss the department's ability to fund the merit increases. So generally, and this is for all employees, including the director, the methodology that our department created, which you guys reviewed when this committee reviewed when doing Director Fisher's employee evaluation, is the same one that we used internal structure. So for the internal increases, of course, employees did receive the pay plan increase that was provided through the study. And then additionally, Director Fisher on her own reviewed everyone's salary and also went by the methodology of our department and provided merit increases based off of the employees' if they received a certificate, if a degree was received, job performance, and also salary equity. So merit increases were provided internally for staff between the ranges of 2 and 8%. And so we were able to do that. The funding was in our budget, even for Director Fisher to receive an increase that was recommended by the board. So we just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of that. Those things were reviewed for staff internally, and those things were successfully implemented.
And one of the things that I for my department at least, it makes me feel really good about that is making certain that the people who do their job and perform well are compensated well. And so that is something that has always happened within my office structure. I think that that's what good leadership looks like, that everyone is able to have a livable wage and live in this city. And so that's always been on the forefront. And so I find it a little off-putting that I have to, fight to get a merit increase that's, equitable in a city where the cost of living is rising as we speak.
Well, indirectly, that's not how it works in metro government. And maybe not on the record, it may not seem that way, but whoever play golf with who play poker with who, who go to a football game with who, makes a difference,
Well,
but
maybe that's why I didn't get it, because I don't do any of those things. I'm not rubbing elbows enough. You take up the game of golf, 8 rounds.
So it depends on the good buddy system, and how well I'm aware of that, but I'm not gonna hold you on that. But that's something that we need to look at and kind of study. But I got one more item on this agenda, and let's go on with that so we can.
Okay.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the F-26 goods and goals and objectives.
The fiscal year 26 goals and objectives, these are what I presented to the mayor without the KPIs because they didn't request those currently. But I wanted to just say one of the things in here says fiscal year 25 has been a pivotal period for our department, marked by significant strides in police accountability, research and policy development, and community outreach and engagement. Our strategic plan for the year focused on core pillars that enhance transparency, accountability with MPD, and the analysis of police data and technology, and educating the community on public safety matters that improve how Nashville works. And so we accomplished a lot, in my opinion. We created a new zero tolerance sexual misconduct and trauma-informed victim advisory policy, which was adopted and implemented by the police department. Our collaboration with MPD has been stronger than it has in the past, and we formalized the partnership through a memorandum of understanding. So these objectives, as I was going through them, I just wanted to, I'm going to cover these really quickly. We wanted to make certain in compliance, so we're talking about compliance first, which is public safety, what to do. We want to reduce the average time to complete a review of an OPA investigation by 15%. So we're aiming at a 75-day turnaround opposed to a 90-day turnaround. And so that's one of our, we think we can accomplish that. So especially if we get more support with the police department giving us the records and stuff on time. And why this helps, it helps because there will be reduced completion of case reviews, which builds legitimacy and trust in the civilian review of OPA cases. And then the KPI for that one would be making certain that we're keeping track of our key performance indicators, the percentage of case review recommendations by this board as it pertains to policy changes, police officer training, those things that are adopted by MMPD. All right, so that's one. And then the next one under compliance is increase public awareness and trust in the complaint process, leading to a 10% increase in the number of citizen complaints. And how we would go about doing that, we believe that increased visibility and accessibility to the CRB enhances trust and provides a more accurate number of citizen complaints. What we see now is people think that because there's not a whole lot of numbers that there's no police misconduct. And I think that that's an error in thinking, because people just don't report. So there's not a lot of reporting. And so because we changed from a COB to a CRB, we need more accessibility. We need to be out. That's why you see those billboards around town. That's our new campaign, Your Voice, Our Mission. And so we're spending more time on that to make certain that people are educated about our services. And I think that I would say this last community outreach engagement that we did for the backpacks, we had probably over 200 people from the South Inglewood community show up. And so they were getting educated on our services. So I believe that we'll have an increase because there's an increase of public awareness of what we do. And then of course, increased visibility and accessibility, and the satisfaction and what is public satisfaction and public, in performance, and that is going to be how many total complaints we've received for the year. Research and policy development. I felt like we needed to establish a centralized database to create a public-facing data dashboard that included all of our information. How many cases we're getting, what the turnaround time is, how many complaints that the police department have. One of the things that I did bring up to the mayor's office, and I think it's critically important, and that is that we have not gotten a clear understanding of how many police complaints are happening annually throughout the department and its precincts. So how many are going into OPA? How many are going to the precincts? We can't even figure out an analysis if we don't have a root number. Like, we need to look at and see if is it 30,000? Is it 50,000 complaints? Is it 100? Is it, I'm sure it's more than 100 because we get about that. But the lack of complaints does not mean that police misconduct is happening. All right, or not happening. So we think that this helps, this database, because it creates a holistic view of public safety issues, connecting citizen complaints with internal investigations, police officer performance and community engagement efforts. And it also, I think it creates a comprehensive perspective on, which I think is essential for identifying systemic issues. The KPI there is engagement and adoption, how many people are using the services, how many people are exporting this information, so on and so forth. And then this, of course, something that is required by law is that we publish a comprehensive annual report. I did change it slightly because it wasn't determined in the act, like the date. So we have decided that, and you guys can help me with this if you want. We said fiscal year opposed to annual report because of how the budget runs. And so our fiscal year report would be from, July 1 to June 30 every year, opposed to January to December, because it could throw us off a little depending on what our budget is for certain things. That's that. And then we think that those, of course, publish quarterly reports based on public safety concerns. One of the things that I think the research team does really well is to stay on top of policing issues, whether they're good issues or not. Like, for instance, there's a big conference happening. I can't go this year. I'll make certain I can go next year, related to police recruitment and retention, that they have, did a call out for all police, maybe people who work in police leadership and just citizens or whomever who have a stake and want to have some involvement in what that looks like. And so recruitment and retention is important and critical to public safety. And so, but we don't really know what the issues are. And so I would like to stay on top of that as well. And then the last one is community engagement. You guys can read over this. We think that increasing the number of community outreach events by 20% in fiscal year 26, that's town halls, lunch and learns, workshops, and meetings would be very helpful to coming up with KPIs where we know how many people are receiving our services, how many people are being, how many outreach events are we having, and how many people are being served. And then also this creation, to create a community satisfaction survey to find out how people, are we meeting their needs? So that's a quick overview of that. You guys have that for your own utilization. And that's all I have.
Thank you for the report.
Thank you.
That ends our quorum. So, three people. Yeah, we still got three. Okay, I'm thinking about four for a regular board meeting. Okay, are there any public comments?
No public comment.
Thank you. Okay, the next month, this month, the meeting is, you said is August, what now?
August the 25th. And this is going to be at Sevier Park.
Sevier Park?
Yes, Sevier Park Community Center. Let me make sure I have the address. 1 second.
It's on the Zoom.
You have it?
It's what?
Calendar invite.
What's the address?
Sorry, hold on.
3021 Leland Lane.
Yeah, okay. I can't get in my computer.
3021 Leland Lane.
Okay.
And we'll send you out some information ahead of time.
That'll be great. I just try to document it to as many ways as I can, make sure I remember. I don't want to be at one location and
Yeah, we don't want you to do that.
No, we're going to send out reminder emails closer to the date too, so it'll be at the top of your email list.
Thank y'all for taking out your time for coming. I appreciate it.
One other thing, I will be out of office August the 27th, the 8th. Something like the 27th, I believe, is my last day. I won't be back until September the, let me see when I'll come back. No, it won't be the 5th. It will be September the 8th.
Hey,
Or maybe the 9th.
now what is this city gonna do without you being here?
I have no idea, but I won't be thinking about it.
Something I had to say and forgot to say about the complaints.
Yes.
And it's amazing how some complaints do not make it downtown.
What do you mean by that?
You get some people call in at the precinct,
Oh, yeah.
and they'll try to resolve it there, or they may ignore it. Depends on the case. And if you don't pursue it, they'll leave it, let it lie.
That's why they should use our services. And then secondly, I'm still waiting to, we have been sending reports every month to the chief, the mayor, and we still haven't received any follow-up. So we got to check on that.
Okay.
And I'll give you a report of that at our next board meeting. Like where, these things that have been, they have 45 days. I think that one time they asked for an extension, but it's been months now. And so, there's an overlap, of course, because we're sending them every month and they do have a 45-day turnaround. But we've been sending these since when, like March or something, April, something like that. So anyway, I'll keep you posted on that. That will be one of my assignments to give you a full, for each one of the reports, whether or not we've heard back from the chief. If we have, I will send that stuff over to you immediately.
Sounds good to me. Get a motion to adjourn. Get a second? All in favor, say aye. Thank you all for the meeting.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.